Her classes are the ones that you actually want to go to, not the ones you feel obligated to go to. Her amazing personality and her wonderful ability to teach make her one of the most amazing professors I have ever had.
They have a lot of insights into things that, I wouldn't have thought of. Because I think how we read literature is just so informed by our own experiences and, that we've had in our lives and our own perspectives. That they, just because, they've experienced different things from me, they see a lot of things that I don't. And so I learn a ton from them. And in fact, a lot of times I think I come out at the end of the semester learning more than my students did. So I feel like I'm a student too still in a lot of ways. I fell in love with literature at a very young age. Like I read a lot as a child. I would just kind of hole up in my room for hours just reading books. But I didn't really figure out I wanted to study literature until I was maybe like a senior in high school, and I just had a really great English teacher. And it just so happens that as a grad student, I had the opportunity to start teaching too. And then I fell in love with teaching, just because it's probably the most challenging, interesting job I've ever done. And it's, just there's this drive to always try to do it better all the time. And, so it's just, I feel very fortunate that I was able to, do it as my career.
I only wish that I was an English major so I could take more classes with Sharon. She is an amazing woman and a wonderful professor, and I would recommend anyone take a class from Sharon.
Stereotypes are so complex that a lot more stuff comes into play than just regional differences. I think you have, gender differences, race and class differences, all of those kind of work together to sort of create these very layered and complex stereotypes. And I think that part of what I do, or what my students and I do in a lot of my classes, especially my comp classes, which tend to be more cultural analyses kind of classes, we really look a lot at these kind of stereotypes and try to pull them apart, because I think they can be sort of harmful. They keep you, I think, they sort of form barriers between people where they can't really truly get to know each other very well. So the proliferation of technology has probably affected how we see women and how women view themselves more than any other single development I can think of. The images that we have through the internet, through television, through film, I think particularly through advertising, can really sort of created this impossible standard that women struggle to try to live up to all the time. I think they do it whether they're realizing it or not. And I think that can be very harmful. And as the mother of an 8-year-old daughter, I worry about her having to deal with these things too as she grows up. And that's another thing, in my composition classes in particular that we look at a lot. What are these images, and how do we make sense of them and sort of guard ourselves from being kind of taken in by them? Well, that's an interesting question, because I just saw an article on that in the newspaper the other day. And it was a student who was talking about how she just really preferred books. And I think there is something about books that's just kind of irreplaceable. The way they feel when you hold them in your hands, and the way they smell, and the way, the sounds it makes when when you turn the page. You can't get that from a Kindle. So, I don't know. Anything could happen 50 years from now or whatever, but I hope we'll have books around for a long time, because I like books. The job market for English professors is really, really tight. So there aren't a lot of jobs, and there's a lot of people trying to get the jobs that are there, and so you kind of have to go where the jobs are. And so I got my job here, and it brought me here. But that being said, I was really excited to find a job here in the Midwest, because I have lived a lot of places, and I'm actually originally from the South, but I feel just from having lived so many years in the Midwest that I've been thoroughly Midwesternized, I guess you could say. So I was very happy. I feel more at home in the Midwest than anywhere else, other part of the country I've ever